So when I was working my last 9 to 5 job, there were so many signs of burnout that I completely missed. And at that time, I remember I was so focused on being that successful corporate girly. And honestly, I was secretly competitive and I love winning. And don't get me wrong, I did love the job while I was still there, and it definitely gave me a lot of insight about like the business world, finances, and overall like the basics of banking. But little did I know there were so many things that I should have done better to take care of myself and just to try to avoid the burnout. And I still think to this day, if I didn't burn out, would I still be working there? And if COVID didn't happen, would I still be working there? Because I remember when the world shut down, there were so many people that didn't know what to do because our lives are consumed with work. And I think when COVID happened, what we all forgot was trying to be personal and we kind of forgot to balance ourselves with like family, friends, our activities, and like the interests that we were doing maybe like when we were in high school or when we were kids. So I want to share with you what I saw during my burnouts and how you should try to be avoiding it. Hi, and welcome back to Small Talk Sundays. If you don't know me yet, my name is Michelle. I am a beauty entrepreneur and your YouTube girly talking all things beauty and business. So let's dive into it. So a keynote to avoiding burnout is having balance in your life. And if you don't know what balance is yet, especially if you're going into the working world or if you're young and maybe you're graduated from high school or even college and you want to try to balance yourself with your personal life and your work life, because when you're doing your work life, you're consuming within the week like at least like a full-time job would be like 40 days a week. And when you come home to de-stress, a lot of us neglect the little things in life like journaling, doing personal hobbies on the side, and instead we kind of like mindlessly scroll or see what others are doing online. And overall, you really want to try to balance your work life versus your personal life. And from my last 9 to 5 job, I was working with the company for about 4 years. And I was slowly climbing up the ladder in the way that I wanted to do it. And then there were just so many signs of me burning out, like since day one, especially like in my first year. And I remember at that time, because it was like my early 20s, I like had zero balance. And the funny thing is, it's like you have zero balance and then you have a lot of energy. So you have a lot of energy to learn new things. And I remember the first year I was like, okay, I wanted to move out and I wanted to be in Vancouver. So I stayed there for a year. And then I also started a new job and I didn't know what to do. And I also was trying to go to school part-time. And then even though I was also working part-time in my company, I was taking a lot of full-time shifts on the side. So it was actually consuming me more in my daily life. Even though I had a lot of energy to do all these things, the balance was actually really off because I was still learning how to live. Like, I didn't know how to do the laundry, I didn't know how to cook, I didn't know how to clean. And then at the same time, it was like, I didn't even know how to read a receipt properly. I didn't even know what a draft was. I didn't even know how to take cash. And I didn't even know what the credit card benefits were. And I didn't know anything about the banking industry. So that first year for me actually took a really big hit on myself because my learning curve was so slow and I was going like deeper and deeper. And I remember it was actually consuming my life in a very negative way. But as like a young 20-year-old, I completely ignored all those things. So try to find a balance in your life and don't learn too many things at once at the same time, but focus on one side and move on to the next when you feel ready. And like I mentioned, my learning curve was so slow. Do I want to go to a concert? Maybe. And like I mentioned, my learning curve is slow. And I was already terrible at learning the way other kids were learning. I couldn't sit there and memorize and kind of just like read at one go. There were so many things I had to do in order for me to get there. And it took me multiple tries to even memorize something. Especially something I didn't even want to learn. Like I had to write it down a lot. I had to say it out loud. I had to communicate with someone. I had to do it somehow visually. I had to do it over and over again till it was like literally stuck in my brain. And little did I know, because I was such a left-handed person and I had like a lot more creativity, the best way for me to learn was actually like a lot of hands-on things. Because when I started like for example, when I'm like typing something constantly, that's when I'm starting to automatically remember it faster than it is for me to kind of read it like 3 times or 5 times. And definitely while I was learning stuff with my hands, also communicating it with somebody was also very helpful for me, and having like a visual aspect. If I had to like draw something really quickly. So try to figure out your learning curve, and if it's slow like me and you need time to get used to the things at your workplace, like try to find a manager or someone who's willing to take time to help you improve. Because they always say that finding the right leaders is an opportunity to success, and I also believe that they also put a very positive impact in your life. Because I really think that work overall shouldn't actually be dreadful. It's where you're spending most of the days throughout the week, and you want to try to enjoy that part of your life. And yes, there are just so many days that it's not always going to be rainbows and sunshines, but within the workplace, try to find yourself a balance that it has more of a positive than a negative in your life. And if you have a small business and you are trying to do a different way of marketing, you have to try this today. Because if you are looking for an easy and beautiful way to connect with your clients and grow your business, I have something amazing for you today. So I've been using Flowdesk for all my email marketing, and let me tell you, it's been a game changer. Flowdesk makes it super simple to create stunning emails that really stand out in your customers' inboxes. There's no tech skills needed, just drag drop and you're ready to go. Whether you're sending out newsletters, promotions, or keeping in touch with your clients, Flowdesk has you covered. And the best part, I've got an exclusive offer for you. When you sign up using my code, you'll actually get 50% off your first year. So that's right. You can start sending your beautiful emails for just half the price. Just click on the link down below and enter your code and watch your business take off. And I have to tell you that I am not kidding when my clients actually really like this in my small business, because it really makes them feel connected to you. Because a lot of people just don't want you to do your business, but they want to know what's happening and they want to be a part of it. So I think email marketing is such a great way to promote your business on a personal level. But another way of avoiding burnout is also setting boundaries for yourself. But again, if you are like me, I find it really hard to say no, and I still struggle to say no until this day. But setting boundaries for yourself is such a must, and it keeps you in check. And the best way of setting boundaries is don't overpromise people when you're trying to take on new tasks, but you're behind yourself. And I have to tell you, like, overworking was the death of me, and I actually stayed longer than my 9 to 5 because I definitely had this urgency where I wanted to take care of my team, and I wanted them to feel okay when they needed it. And also it came to my managers, and I wanted them to feel sane. And I also had this thing where I wanted them to look at me, hey, like, you can depend on me to do whatever you need to do and to make yourself feel okay. I think it was just because I hated seeing the struggle on people's faces, and if there's something I can do to help, I will definitely go for it. But it definitely backfired me, and I definitely overworked myself. And honestly, I shouldn't have taken on too much work when I couldn't even handle it. So set boundaries and learn to say no when needed. So one saying I also keep to heart is that if you want to help others, you have to help yourself first. And last but not least, but staying organized is actually a great way to avoid burnout. I feel like every time I give advice, it's always the opposite of something I do, but I feel like for this video, there's a lot of things that I should have done and that I don't do, and I should be taking advice, but now I am better. So I hope you are learning from this so far. I was definitely a hot mess when it comes to organization, and I still kind of am, because if you're like me, again, I like to keep things messy, but I knew where things were exactly or what tasks had to be done. And I know at many workplaces, there's just so much tasks that is built up over time within like that small time frame that you have within that week or few days. I think the worst part I was doing to myself was actually doing a task, taking another task, and not finishing a task all at the same time. And I kept adding more and more to my plate because I was like, yeah, I can do this. Yeah, it's easy. Or yeah, I can just sign that off, or whatever it was. And looking back, it was definitely how I overbooked myself and how I overlooked a lot of things and overloaded myself and doing too many things at once. And then I was doing like a lot of overtime because I wanted to get things done before I left. And what was actually happening was that my learning curve was actually declining, because when I was trying to do a task, for example, is that I would do a task, but I wouldn't know exactly what I was doing, but then I would have to repeat it 5 times because I forgot how to do the task in the first place. So I would say try to stay organized by writing it down. And when you're writing it down, you can also try to separate like what's urgent and what isn't urgent. But try your best not to add more tasks when you are not ready. But I kind of want to elaborate on organization, because overall I'm still a messy organizer, but I still like it at the same time. And what I actually did is I actually implemented that in my business, because I like the lifestyle of it where it's always something different each day, and it's always like a little bit of a surprise, and it's not always repetitive. But in order for me to have this kind of lifestyle, I had to set certain rules so I can be flexible at the same time. So for example, like in my business, they have to give me like a 24-hour warning if they need to reschedule or if they need to cancel their appointment. And because within that 24 hours, I'm able to prep myself, where I can try to prep my meal, my clothes, what extra things I need to do the previous day so I can carry it on the next day. And then what keeps me on track too as well by staying organized like this is actually having short weekly goals. So it would be like what I've done in a personal level, what I have to do, or if there's any events that I'm going to, I would kind of just write them down every single day. It doesn't have to be something super long. It takes me about like 5 to 10 minutes depending if I have a lot of things in my brain. But if I'm doing a day of brain dumping, I either type it out for a while and go to a cafe, or I would write it down and kind of just break down what is happening. And again, I do it this way because I like to be impulsive and I like surprises, and I like to have a different day every day. It's like some days throughout the week I want to work from home, or if I want to go to a cafe, or if I want to be at the studio, or if I want to see my friends, or if I want to see my family. But it definitely keeps my life interesting and never boring. And I think that's honestly like the Gemini in me, because I think Geminis are very versatile and they like to do things all at once, but sometimes we end up doing nothing at the same time. So I hope these 4 keynotes help you avoid burning out, and hopefully that you're learning from my mistakes. So always make sure you have a balance in your work and personal life. And if your learning curve is slow, take the time to grow within your own pace, and remember to set boundaries for yourself. Learn to say no when it's needed, but don't forget to help a teammate out. And of course, stay organized. Whatever organization means to you, keep it consistent and you'll see yourself flourish in no time. So let me know in the comments what are some ideas to avoid burning out if I haven't mentioned it. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, like, comment, and subscribe. And I remember it took me 4 years for me to burn out, which was crazy. And by the time I ended my last 9-to-5 job like that, I actually ended up staying at home for like a couple months, couple months or 3 months, and I was just like in bed, and I was always like looking at the sky, and I was like, you know what, maybe I can try again, maybe I can do this, or I didn't even know what to do. I just felt so helpless. And now with learning all these things in my 30s, I am definitely a lot better. My health is better, and I really hope that you don't end up being in the same position as me. And I think I found a lot of peace within me, and I hope that you can find peace within yourself too.